big breaking news out of California. You have been looking at images at the scene here. This huge fire, 700 acres plus in the Pacific Palisades.
Man reaps what he sows. Did Hollywood just reap what it sowed? There are thousands of places with low humidity and dry grasslands, but a big fire chose Los Angeles, the home of the gigantic Hollywood sign. Miracles did not come for rescue. No rain, no immediate taming of the fires. It was like a nightmare, like the blazing and disastrous scenes in movies. Is this God's revenge to Hollywood? Because as the scripture says, God will not be mocked. The godless town. Just 2 days before the devastating Los Angeles fires, a first-time Golden Globes host, Nikki Glaser, showed a board of shout-outs where God on the list got none, and each of the Hollywood actors found this hilarious. Although this sounded like a joke and part of the script, people still find jokes involving the supreme awkward, a no-no, blasphemy, and worst mockery. She then goes on to say, there is no surprise in this godless town. But the surprise actually came 2 days after their seemingly fun annual shindig. The not surprising part is, almost every Hollywood film is full of curses, God-mocking words and scenarios, even the normalized thousands of Jesus Christ swearing expressions. That was not a thing before, but Hollywood spread this norm like wildfire in the entire industry, including series, talk shows, reality shows, every production. Not even a week after the Golden Globes of these celebrities, LA faced one of its earliest 2025 nightmares. Flames in January. Who expects fire in the middle of the coldness of January? But seasons and temperatures in places around the world are just different. The recent wildfires in Los Angeles began as an unassuming spark, but quickly turned into one of the most catastrophic events in the region's history. The fires ignited in the foothills near the Angeles National Forest in late 2024, during one of California's driest seasons on record. Unseasonably high temperatures and the persistent Santa Ana winds created the perfect storm, allowing the flames to spread with alarming speed. Initially, the fire seemed manageable, with local fire crews working tirelessly to contain the flames. However, within hours, the winds intensified, carrying embers miles away and igniting new fires in residential areas. Entire neighborhoods were caught off guard as the flames advanced unpredictably, leaving residents with little time to evacuate. By the end of the first day, the fire had scorched thousands of acres, and its glow could be seen illuminating the Los Angeles skyline. The chaos escalated as emergency services struggled to keep up. Roadways became clogged with evacuees, and shelters quickly reached capacity. Amid the evacuation efforts, stories of heroism emerged, neighbors helping each other flee, firefighters risking their lives to save homes, and volunteers stepping up to support displaced families. Tragically, the fires claimed over 30 lives, including first responders who perished in the line of duty. Dozens of people were injured, and many more remained unaccounted for in the following days. The fires destroyed over 1,000 structures, including homes, businesses, and cultural landmarks, leaving entire communities in ashes. Wildlife in the region also suffered greatly, with many animals killed or displaced as their habitats were consumed by flames. In the aftermath, the skies over Los Angeles remained thick with smoke for weeks, creating hazardous air quality that affected millions. Residents faced not only the emotional toll of losing their homes and loved ones, but also the daunting task of rebuilding their lives. Meanwhile, investigations into the fire's causes pointed to a mix of factors, including aging electrical infrastructure and human negligence. The recent LA fires have left an indelible mark on the city, highlighting the fragility of life in the face of nature's fury. They serve as a somber reminder of the growing challenges posed by climate change and the urgent need for preventive measures to protect communities from future disasters. For a progressive nation like the USA, what exactly caused the fires, and how did it begin? Cause and reasons of the recent LA fires. These devastating fires, which have claimed lives, destroyed property, and displaced thousands, are a result of a complex interplay of environmental, climatic, and human factors. Understanding the causes and reasons behind these fires is essential for preventing future tragedies. One of the primary drivers of the LA fires is the prolonged drought that has gripped California for years. The state's dry conditions have turned vast swathes of vegetation into a tinderbox, ready to ignite at the slightest spark. Additionally, record-breaking heat waves, driven by global climate change, have exacerbated the situation. Higher temperatures lead to lower humidity, drying out the soil and plants even further. creating ideal conditions for wildfires to ignite and spread. The role of the infamous Santa Ana winds cannot be overstated. These hot, dry winds blow from the inland deserts toward the coast, fanning small flames into massive infernos. The winds can carry embers miles ahead of the main fire, igniting new blazes and making containment efforts extraordinarily challenging for firefighters. Human activities have also played a significant role in the recent fires. A large number of wildfires in California are caused by human negligence or accidents. For example, unattended campfires, discarded cigarettes, or sparks from vehicles and machinery can easily ignite dry vegetation. Fireworks, illegal burning, and arson have also been contributing factors in several incidents. Utility companies have come under scrutiny in recent years as aging infrastructure has been linked to major wildfires. In this case, preliminary investigations suggest that some of the recent fires may have been sparked by electrical equipment failures, such as downed power lines or transformers. Despite efforts to improve safety measures, such as power shutoffs during high-risk conditions, the problem persists due to the sheer scale of California's energy grid. The expansion of urban areas into wildfire-prone regions has increased the risk and impact of such fires. Known as the wildland-urban interface, these areas are particularly vulnerable because they combine dense vegetation with human habitation. As people build homes and infrastructure closer to forests and grasslands, the chances of fires affecting human lives and property grow exponentially. Policy and land management practices have also played a role. For decades, fire suppression was prioritized over controlled burns, which are a natural way to clear out excess vegetation. This has led to an accumulation of dry fuel in forests, creating conditions for more intense and uncontrollable fires. Although efforts have been made to reintroduce controlled burns and better manage land, the legacy of past policies continues to pose challenges. Climate change has amplified the frequency and intensity of wildfires, not only in Los Angeles, but across the globe. Rising global temperatures have extended fire seasons, making them longer and more dangerous. In California, climate change has disrupted weather patterns, increasing the occurrence of extreme events like heat waves, droughts, and high winds. Scientists warn that without significant action to curb greenhouse gas emissions, the risk of catastrophic wildfires will continue to rise. The recent LA fires are a tragic reminder of the multifaceted nature of wildfire risks. They are fueled by environmental factors like drought and winds, exacerbated by human activity and urban expansion, and intensified by the overarching threat of climate change. Addressing these issues requires a multi-pronged approach: better land and forest management, stricter enforcement of fire safety regulations, investment in resilient infrastructure, and a global commitment to mitigating climate change. By understanding the causes and reasons behind these fires, Los Angeles and the broader state of California can work toward a future where such devastating events are less frequent and less destructive. While the challenges are immense, proactive measures can save lives, protect property, and preserve the natural beauty of the region for generations to come. The recent wildfires in Los Angeles have prompted widespread speculation and investigation into their origins and spread. The most prominent theories range from natural factors to human involvement, and even debates about policy and climate change. Let's start delving. Theories on the recent LA fires. One widely accepted theory is that climate change has significantly increased the frequency and intensity of wildfires. Rising global temperatures have led to prolonged droughts and extreme heat waves in California, drying out vegetation and creating the perfect conditions for fires to ignite and spread. Additionally, the Santa Ana winds, which are common in Southern California during wildfire season, have played a critical role in fanning the flames and spreading embers across large distances. This theory posits that the convergence of climate-driven conditions, such as low humidity, high temperatures, and strong winds, is a primary reason behind the recent fires. Many scientists and policymakers view this as a long-term challenge that requires global efforts to mitigate climate change and local strategies to adapt to its impacts. Another prevailing theory is that human activity has directly or indirectly triggered the recent LA fires. Accidents such as unattended campfires, discarded cigarettes, and sparks from vehicles or machinery are common causes of wildfires. The dry conditions in California make even minor human errors potentially catastrophic. Utility companies have also been implicated in recent wildfires. Aging infrastructure, such as downed power lines or malfunctioning transformers, has been identified as a recurring issue. In some cases, utility companies have admitted responsibility for past fires and have been required to pay significant settlements. Investigators are examining whether similar equipment failures could have sparked the recent fires. While less common, arson remains a possible explanation for some wildfires. Law enforcement agencies are investigating whether any of the recent fires were deliberately set. Cases of arson often stem from a variety of motives, including financial gain, mental illness, or even political or social unrest. Although evidence of arson has not been confirmed for the recent fires, it remains a theory under consideration. The expansion of urban areas into wildfire-prone regions has increased the risk and impact of wildfires. This theory suggests that the growing wildland-urban interface, where human development meets natural vegetation, has made it more difficult to prevent and contain fires. As more people build homes in these high-risk areas, the consequences of wildfires become more severe. Critics also point to policy failures, such as inadequate forest management and insufficient investment in fire prevention. Decades of fire suppression have led to an accumulation of dry fuel in forests, making fires more intense when they do occur. Although controlled burns and other preventive measures have been reintroduced in recent years, many believe these efforts are insufficient given the scale of the problem. As with any large-scale disaster, the recent LA fires have given rise to conspiracy theories. Some individuals speculate that the fires were intentionally started to benefit developers or corporations seeking to clear land for profit. Others suggest more far-fetched explanations, such as the use of directed energy weapons or other advanced technology. While these theories lack credible evidence and are largely dismissed by experts, they reflect the anxiety and mistrust that often accompany disasters of this magnitude. Theories surrounding the recent LA fires highlight the complexity of wildfire causation, from climate change and human negligence to urban development and policy challenges. The causes are likely a combination of factors rather than a single source. And then, another theory was born. Keep watching. Was God mocked and made the fires for Gaza? It's another theory of many that the fires were destined to fall in the US in revenge for the children and victims in Gaza. As comments say, remember Gaza. Let's differentiate what happened and compare its similarities. The recent fires in Gaza and Los Angeles have drawn attention to the devastating impacts of fire-related disasters on human life, infrastructure, and the environment. While the causes and contexts of these events differ significantly, there are notable connections in terms of the challenges they present, the shared human experiences of loss and resilience, and the global implications of fire disasters. However, people around the world agree with the universe that this is the result of the doings of America, and that LA deserves the big challenge they were faced with. The fires in Gaza are predominantly linked to the ongoing conflict in the region. Explosions, missile strikes, and other forms of warfare have caused widespread destruction, leading to fires that ravage buildings, infrastructure, and civilian areas. These fires are often the result of direct human action, arising from military aggression and conflict, and are compounded by the lack of adequate resources to control and extinguish them. In this case, the fires are symptomatic of broader geopolitical tensions and humanitarian crises. In contrast, the fires in Los Angeles stem largely from natural and environmental factors. Prolonged droughts, extreme heat, and the infamous Santa Ana winds have created a tinderbox scenario in California. Human negligence, such as utility equipment failures or accidental sparks, has also contributed to the ignition of these wildfires. Unlike Gaza, the LA fires are not linked to conflict, but to climate change, urban development, and inadequate land management practices. Despite their different origins, both regions face similar challenges in responding to and recovering from fires. In Gaza, the destruction of homes, hospitals, and essential infrastructure has left thousands displaced and in desperate need of aid. The limited availability of firefighting equipment and medical supplies exacerbates the crisis, leaving communities vulnerable to the long-term effects of fire damage. In Los Angeles, the fires have similarly displaced thousands, destroyed homes, and strained emergency services. The health impacts of smoke inhalation, the loss of property, and the emotional toll on affected communities mirror the struggles faced in Gaza. In both cases, fires have highlighted the vulnerability of human settlements to large-scale disasters, whether caused by conflict or natural conditions. The fires in Gaza and Los Angeles underscore the growing need for global cooperation and innovation in disaster prevention and response. Climate change plays a significant role in exacerbating fire risks, as rising global temperatures contribute to extreme weather conditions and prolonged droughts. The situation in Gaza, while rooted in conflict, also demonstrates how vulnerable regions can be further destabilized by environmental crises, as damaged infrastructure makes recovery more difficult. Both events call for international solidarity. Humanitarian aid is essential for Gaza to rebuild and recover, while Los Angeles needs investments in climate resilience, fire prevention technologies, and sustainable land management practices. These efforts require a collective acknowledgement of the interconnected nature of global challenges, from climate change to geopolitical instability. At the heart of these tragedies is the shared human experience of loss and resilience. Families in both Gaza and Los Angeles have faced the pain of losing loved ones, homes, and livelihoods. Yet, amid the devastation, stories of heroism and solidarity emerge. Firefighters risking their lives to save others, neighbors coming together to support one another, and global communities rallying to provide aid and resources. Stories of loss, resilience, and recovery. The recent wildfires in Los Angeles have left an unforgettable mark on the city and its residents. These fires, fueled by extreme weather conditions and exacerbated by prolonged drought, have displaced thousands of people, destroyed homes, and caused immeasurable emotional and financial damage. The victims of these fires come from all walks of life, but they share common experiences of loss, resilience, and the long road to recovery. For many families, the fires resulted in the loss of everything they owned. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to ashes, leaving residents with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Families who had spent decades building their homes and communities watched helplessly as the flames consumed their possessions and memories. Some victims lost loved ones to the fires, while others were left searching for missing family members in the chaos. The psychological toll has been immense. Many survivors report feelings of shock, grief, and anxiety, compounded by the uncertainty of their future. Children, in particular, have struggled to cope with the sudden disruption to their lives, losing not only their homes, but also their sense of safety and normalcy. Thousands of residents were forced to evacuate as the fires spread rapidly, often with little time to gather belongings. Evacuation centers became temporary refuges for those who had nowhere else to go, providing shelter, food, and medical care. However, these facilities were often overcrowded, and many victims faced challenges accessing resources due to language barriers, mobility issues, or lack of transportation. For low-income families and individuals, the fires have exacerbated existing vulnerabilities. Many lacked adequate insurance to cover the costs of rebuilding their homes, leaving them dependent on government aid and community support. Homelessness has become a significant concern, as victims struggle to find affordable housing in a city already grappling with a housing crisis. The economic impact of the fires on victims has been devastating. Small business owners have seen their livelihoods destroyed, with shops, inventory, and equipment lost to the flames. Workers in affected areas face job losses as businesses shut down, adding financial strain to an already dire situation. Farmers and ranchers in the outskirts of Los Angeles have also suffered heavy losses, with crops and livestock destroyed. For many, the fires have wiped out not only their current income, but also years of hard work and investment. Amid the devastation, stories of resilience and solidarity have emerged. Neighbors have come together to support one another, sharing resources and offering emotional support. Volunteers from across the state have stepped in to help victims, distributing food, clothing, and supplies. Some victims, despite losing everything, have expressed gratitude for their lives and the opportunity to rebuild. Communities are rallying to support each other, raising funds, and organizing events to aid recovery efforts. These acts of kindness and determination reflect the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Victims have received support from government agencies, non-profit organizations, and local communities. Emergency relief funds, grants, and low-interest loans have been made available to help victims rebuild their lives. Evacuation centers and disaster response teams have provided immediate assistance, while long-term initiatives aim to address housing and employment challenges. Non-profit organizations, such as the Red Cross and local charities, have played a crucial role in providing relief and advocating for victims. Community members have also stepped up, organizing donation drives and offering shelter to those in need. The victims of the LA fires have endured unimaginable loss, but their resilience and the outpouring of support from their communities offer hope for recovery. While the path ahead is challenging, the strength and determination of those affected demonstrate the power of unity and compassion in overcoming adversity. By addressing the needs of fire victims and investing in preventive measures, Los Angeles can move toward a future where such tragedies are less frequent and less devastating. To move forward, the government has a huge role in aiding victims and improving policies in the area. Let's evaluate their support to the community. Government initiatives and support for recent LA fire victims. In the wake of this disaster, the government has implemented several initiatives to provide relief, aid recovery, and build resilience against future wildfires. These measures encompass emergency response efforts, financial assistance, and long-term planning to mitigate fire risks and support affected communities. The immediate response to the wildfires focused on saving lives and containing the fires. Local and state fire departments, along with federal agencies like FEMA, coordinated efforts to combat the flames. Helicopters, water tankers, and thousands of firefighters were deployed to control the spread of the fires and protect critical infrastructure. Emergency evacuation centers were established to shelter displaced residents, providing food, medical care, and temporary housing. The California National Guard also played a crucial role, assisting in evacuation efforts and supporting fire containment operations. Public safety alerts and evacuation orders were disseminated rapidly through digital platforms and traditional media to ensure residents had timely information. Recognizing the significant economic impact of the fires, the government has offered various forms of financial aid to help victims rebuild their lives. FEMA has activated disaster assistance programs, providing grants for temporary housing, home repairs, and other necessary expenses not covered by insurance. Additionally, the Small Business Administration has made low-interest loans available to homeowners, renters, and businesses affected by the fires. The California state government has also established emergency relief funds, allocating millions of dollars to support recovery efforts. These funds are being used to rebuild damaged infrastructure, assist uninsured victims, and support local businesses in their recovery. Non-profit organizations and local governments are collaborating to ensure these resources reach those in need as quickly as possible. In addition to immediate relief, the government is taking steps to prevent and mitigate the impact of future wildfires. Investments are being made in forest management practices, such as controlled burns and vegetation clearance, to reduce the accumulation of dry fuel in wildfire-prone areas. Utility companies are being required to upgrade their infrastructure to minimize the risk of electrical equipment sparking fires. The state is also expanding funding for wildfire detection and monitoring systems, including satellite technology and AI-based predictive tools. Building codes are being updated to include fire-resistant materials and designs for homes in high-risk areas. Furthermore, public awareness campaigns are being launched to educate residents on fire safety and preparedness. Collaboration between local, state, and federal governments has been essential in responding to the fires. Federal disaster declarations have unlocked additional resources, including funding and personnel. Partnerships with non-profit organizations, such as the Red Cross, and private sector contributions have further bolstered relief efforts. The government is also working closely with environmental experts and urban planners to develop long-term strategies for wildfire prevention and response. These initiatives aim to strike a balance between urban development and environmental preservation, ensuring that communities are better prepared for future disasters. Health and psychological effects. The health and psychological effects of these fires are profound, with both immediate and long-term consequences for those affected. This essay explores the physical health risks, mental health challenges, and the overall well-being of fire victims in the aftermath of the Los Angeles wildfires. The most immediate health concerns following the wildfires in Los Angeles are the physical risks associated with smoke inhalation and burns. Wildfire smoke is a significant source of air pollution, containing harmful particles such as carbon monoxide, volatile organic compounds, and fine particulate matter, PM2.5. These pollutants can cause respiratory issues, particularly for vulnerable populations, including children, the elderly, and individuals with pre-existing health conditions such as asthma or heart disease. Prolonged exposure to wildfire smoke can irritate the lungs and airways, leading to conditions like asthma attacks, bronchitis, and other chronic respiratory problems. Many residents were forced to stay indoors or evacuate to areas with cleaner air, but those who remained in smoke-filled zones often experienced coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath. The inhalation of fine particulate matter from the fires can also increase the risk of cardiovascular issues, including heart attacks and strokes. The stress on the body caused by smoke exposure and the physical demands of evacuation further exacerbates the risk of heart-related conditions. While many fire victims are affected by smoke and air quality issues, some directly suffer from burns and physical injuries. Firefighters and residents who tried to protect their properties or assist in evacuations were particularly at risk of sustaining burns, while others faced injuries related to evacuations, such as falls, vehicle accidents, or exposure to hazardous conditions. In addition to the physical health consequences, the psychological impact of the LA fires on victims is substantial. The trauma of losing a home, witnessing the destruction of neighborhoods, and dealing with the uncertainty of recovery can lead to significant emotional and mental health challenges. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. For many survivors, the experience of the fires, whether through evacuation, the loss of loved ones, or the destruction of their homes, can lead to PTSD. Symptoms may include flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, and hypervigilance. Survivors may also experience difficulty sleeping, feelings of hopelessness, and avoidance of situations that remind them of the trauma. The loss of homes, possessions, and personal security can trigger anxiety and depression. The stress of dealing with the immediate aftermath, navigating insurance claims, and figuring out where to live can feel overwhelming. For many, the emotional toll is compounded by the fear of future fires and the uncertainty of recovery. Victims of the fires often experience intense grief due to the loss of personal items, family heirlooms, and in some cases, loved ones. This grief can manifest in feelings of sadness, anger, guilt, and emotional numbness. The process of mourning what has been lost is complicated by the ongoing stress of rebuilding and the difficulty of moving forward in the face of destruction. Children are particularly vulnerable to the psychological effects of disasters like wildfires. The trauma of being displaced, witnessing the destruction of their homes, or experiencing the death of a loved one can lead to long-lasting emotional scars. Children may struggle with feelings of insecurity, fear of future fires, and difficulty adjusting to new environments. Parents also face the challenge of supporting their children through the recovery process while dealing with their own emotional distress. The effects of the fires are not limited to the immediate aftermath. Over time, the mental and physical health consequences of the disaster can linger, requiring long-term care and support. Long-term exposure to smoke and poor air quality can exacerbate chronic health conditions. Individuals who suffer from asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, or other respiratory illnesses may see a decline in their health as a result of the fires. Similarly, those with cardiovascular conditions may face a heightened risk of complications due to the physical and emotional stress of the disaster. Mental health challenges often persist long after the fires have been extinguished. Victims may continue to experience symptoms of PTSD, depression, and anxiety for months or even years. The stress of rebuilding homes, returning to work, and trying to return to normalcy can prolong these psychological effects. For some, the sense of loss may never fully be resolved, leading to ongoing emotional distress. As communities work to rebuild, individuals may experience social isolation, particularly if they are unable to return to their homes or if they have lost connections with neighbors and friends. This sense of isolation can exacerbate mental health issues and hinder the recovery process. To address the health and psychological effects of the fires, a coordinated effort is required from both government and community organizations. Mental health professionals, including counselors and therapists, are crucial in helping survivors process their trauma and manage symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Crisis counseling services, both in-person and online, can provide immediate emotional support for those struggling with the aftermath. Additionally, physical health services, including respiratory care and long-term monitoring of chronic conditions, are vital for victims who have been exposed to hazardous smoke or suffered injuries. Community organizations, including non-profits, are also instrumental in providing resources such as food, clothing, and temporary shelter to help victims get back on their feet. The recent fires in Los Angeles may just be one of the many disasters to face in the year. For some, they tend to connect it with the relationship of the place and God. It's best to move forward and think of resolutions to avoid such things to happen and support initiatives to aid the victims. Still, one truth stands: God must not be mocked at all times and in all circumstances. You've reached the end of the video. We'll see you in the next one.